On September 3rd, the Chinese Communist Party held what is likely their last major military parade at Tiananmen Square in Beijing. The CCP aimed to showcase its newly developed weapons, hoping to impress the world. However, their structural weaknesses were hard to hide. Let's first take a look at the so-called equipment that appeared in the parade from a military perspective. The parade began with a well-ordered infantry formation, which was humorously referred to online as the most spectacular social security and minor unit in the world. Next came the Army, leading with the Type 99 main battle tank, followed by the debut of the Type 100 tank. The Chinese media praised the Type 100 tank, calling it equipped with 360-degree active protection, with 4 phased array radars, 13 multispectral sensors, and anti-tank missiles. It all sounds impressive, but to those familiar with military equipment, it's clear that if the CCP could equip their tanks with such advanced technology, their fighter jets would have long surpassed those of the US military. In reality, the Type 100 tank is more of a showpiece for the CCP's leaders, resembling a Lego model, with flashy features that won't even withstand a basic 105mm shell. Next came the Amphibious Assault Unit and Airborne Assault Unit, followed by the Long-Range Artillery Unit, which featured the active PAHL-191 box rocket launcher. Then, China's infantry fighting vehicles took the spotlight, primarily the Type 04 and Type 08 infantry fighting vehicles. The Type 04 is a tracked vehicle comparable to Russia's BMP series and the US M2 Bradley. However, China's Type 04 is technically outdated, weighing 21.5 tons, with a 3-person crew and 7 passengers. It uses aluminum alloy armor and is armed with a 100mm gun. Next were the missiles, which the CCP has long touted as crucial for victory. The night before the parade, a video circulated showing 2 new missile trucks in the Beijing area. One truck was labeled Dongfeng 61 and the other Dongfeng 31 BJ. Both missiles made an appearance in the parade. These 2 missiles are both land-based and long-range ballistic missiles. The Dongfeng 21 is considered a medium-range missile, with a range of about 2,000 kilometers, while the Dongfeng 31 is a medium to long-range missile, with a range of about 10,000 kilometers. The Dongfeng 41, currently the longest-range missile the CCP has announced, uses a 3-stage solid rocket and weighs 60 tons. Its maximum range can reach 14,000 kilometers, and it flies at speeds over 20 Mach. It can be launched from missile silos or mobile launchers. In theory, the range of these missiles could cover the entire US from China, but the true range of the missiles announced by the CCP has always been questioned. What's even more concerning is not the target itself, but the potential for a wide area to be attacked beyond the intended target once the CCP's missiles are launched. During one of the few missile drills by the Chinese military, in 2024, a Dongfeng 41 missile veered off course by nearly 100 kilometers and landed in the waters near Fiji. As for the Dongfeng 61 missile seen in the parade, its exact performance is still unclear. However, based on its naming convention and size, it's likely to have a longer range than the Dongfeng 41, theoretically resulting in a larger margin of error. Many military enthusiasts have humorously remarked that the Chinese military could use the threat of missing its target as a weapon, as the unpredictability of these missiles could actually be more dangerous. Another missile showcased was the Dongfeng 31 BJ. The basic model of the 31 has been in development for many years, with a range of around 10,000 kilometers. The Dongfeng 31B version is said to have a range of 12,000 kilometers. According to a Taiwanese military blogger who analyzed the footage from Japanese TV, the J in its name represents well, indicating that this missile is launched from a silo, so it's not exactly new equipment. Additionally, the Dongfeng 5C missile made an appearance in this parade. The Dongfeng 5 is China's oldest long-range ballistic missile, powered by a liquid fuel engine. We saw that the Dongfeng 5 missile vehicle was made of 3 parts, with the warhead and missile body loaded separately. Firing liquid fuel missiles is a complicated process that requires fueling the missile before launch. Because the Dongfeng 5 uses a liquid fuel rocket engine, its combat readiness is not very promising. While the Dongfeng 5C looks massive, its technology is outdated and no longer effective. Lastly, a new weapon, the JL-1 ballistic missile, known as Thunder, appeared at the parade. This is actually an air-launched ballistic missile, similar to Russia's Kinzhal missile, with no major technological innovations. The missile is launched from an H-6 bomber, which was developed in the 1960s from Soviet bombers. While its basic performance is limited, it does have a restricted payload and range. The JL-1's estimated range is under 2,000 kilometers. With the appearance of the JL-1 ballistic missile combined with the Dongfeng series on land and the Zhulong series at sea, the CCP theoretically has achieved a Trinity strike capability. The Army, Navy, and Air Force now each have platforms to launch long-range nuclear weapons. Another noteworthy weapon system is China's Hongqi-29. The missile system made a prominent appearance in the parade, along with other air defense missiles in the Hongqi series, such as the Hongqi-9, Hongqi-16, Hongqi-11, and Hongqi-19. However, the most attention-grabbing was the Hongqi-29 mid-course interception missile. Visually, the Hongqi-29 is massive, even larger than a short-range ballistic missile, and is towed by a 12-wheeled large truck. The missile itself appears to be over 10 meters long, with 2 missiles loaded onto each truck. The Standard 3 or SM-3 missile for mid-course interception, as well as land-based mid-course interception systems. The Standard 3 missile costs around $20 million and has a range of 1,200 kilometers. However, the U.S. Standard 3 is much smaller, measuring 6.5 meters in length and only 0.34 meters in diameter. It's launched from the Navy's vertical launch system. In contrast, the Hongqi-29 seen in the parade is extremely large and cannot be launched from the Navy's vertical launch systems. Its exact technical specifications are still unknown. But judging from its bulky appearance, it doesn't seem to be comparable to the US SM-3 missile. The reason the Hongqi-29 stands out is that mid-course interception systems are crucial in many countries' defense systems. Currently, most intercontinental missiles can carry multiple warheads. This means that a single missile can carry up to 10 warheads, which can disperse and target 10 different locations when re-entering the atmosphere. However, when flying outside the atmosphere, it's still just one missile body. The mid-course interception system aims to intercept ballistic missiles while they're still outside the atmosphere. If successful, intercepting just one missile could essentially destroy 10 nuclear warheads, making it highly cost-effective. Mid-course interceptions often occur at high altitudes, far from the homeland. For example, the U.S. has deployed its mid-course interception system in Alaska, strategically positioned between Russia and the U.S., significantly increasing the interception success rate. If a mid-course missile interception fails, end-stage defense systems such as the U.S. Patriot and THAAD systems can provide backup, forming a multi-layered defense system. Currently, the U.S. is the only country in the world with a mid-course defense system. If the CCP successfully develops the Hongqi-29, it could surpass its predecessor, Russia, in terms of technological capability. Russia primarily relies on the S-400 air defense system, which has a range of only 400 kilometers. Not only does this make it difficult to intercept intercontinental missiles, but it also struggles to intercept cruise missiles. On the battlefield in Ukraine, Ukrainian forces have used US-supplied Army tactical missiles and the UK-supplied Storm Shadow cruise missiles, which are subsonic and can easily destroy Russia's 4S-100 air defense system. The CCP. During the parade, the Chinese Communist Party also showcased a laser weapon, the LY-1. This laser weapon is mounted on a very long vehicle, as laser weapons require a lot of energy. Inside the vehicle, there is likely a power generation unit and fuel for batteries to support the weapon. Its specific parameters are still classified, but it's said to be a shipborne laser weapon. However, the U.S. has long entered the practical phase of laser weapon development and is at the forefront globally. At sea, the U.S. Navy's Burke-class destroyers are already equipped with lasers, and on land, the U.S. has installed laser weapons on Stryker armored vehicles. In comparison, China's secretive laser weapons, which are still behind, have become a subject of ridicule among military enthusiasts. Another area that attracted attention from foreign military experts was the drone unit in the parade. For example, one drone in the footage shows a typical flying wing structure design, which is actually the Attack 11 drone designed by Shenfei, a Chinese company. The Attack 11 drone has appeared in the news for several years, with the project starting back in 2009. However, only one Attack 11 drone was displayed in the parade, indicating that this drone has yet to enter mass production, and is still likely in the technical verification phase. It seems that Shenfei is facing several challenges in developing this flying wing drone, and they had to present only a prototype for the occasion. However, many drones in the parade looked very similar to American drones. One of the drones resembled the US Kratos XQ-58 Valkyrie drone almost exactly. It was noted that in what was claimed to be the largest military parade since the founding of the CCP, China displayed nearly global-range nuclear missiles, air defense lasers, hypersonic weapons, and maritime drones capable of covering its near seas, sending a strong message of threat. MarkSpace, a YouTube military space channel, stated that the most prominent feature of China's equipment is copying the U.S. military. The U.S. military's equipment is often improved after being tested in real combat, which is what the CCP refers to as overtaking on a bend. However, switching from Soviet-style to American-style equipment still reveals structural weaknesses. For example, the mid-course missile defense system is modeled after the U.S. Standard 3 missile, but its actual performance is significantly different, even from its outward appearance. China's army and amphibious forces mainly focus on Taiwan, emphasizing long-range rockets and firepower demonstrations. Their unmanned combat vehicles follow the technology used in the Russia-Ukraine war, and feature light tanks modified into anti-drone equipment, fitting their needs for amphibious operations. However, heavy tanks have limited effectiveness in Taiwan's terrain. In terms of the Navy, while there have been noticeable improvements, there are still many signs of imitation. For example, the Yingji-18 missile resembles the Swedish Navy's missile, and the unmanned underwater vehicles, UUVs, are still in their early stages, with size and length that can't compare to the U.S. Navy systems. The U.S. Navy has already deployed the 80-ton Tiger Shark UUV, and has also produced the Ghost Shark UUV for Australia. The U.S. has deployed its Ghost Fleet in Yokosuka, Japan, and the Middle East, even testing the third generation of unmanned warships designed for missile attacks. In contrast, most of China's unmanned vessels are equipped with small rockets and guns, functioning more like kamikaze boats. In terms of the Air Force, there wasn't much new to see. The only notable pieces were the carrier-based AWACS KJ-600 and J-15T fighter jet. MarkSpace mentioned that these had already been shown before, and this parade was just their official debut. The KJ-600 is a complete copy of the American E-2 Hawkeye AWACS, but so far it has only completed land-based test flights and has yet to undergo carrier-based takeoff and landing tests, making its practicality questionable. Other than that, the much-anticipated H-20 bomber didn't appear. The rocket force remains the main power for China to counter the U.S. military. China displayed the Dongfeng 5C intercontinental missile and several hypersonic missiles. However, MarkSpace pointed out that China's numerous missile models create maintenance challenges, saying, with so many types, it becomes a huge logistical burden. In contrast, the U.S. military retains only a few models, making it easier to upgrade and extend their lifespan. He further stated, the massive missile display by China is largely for show, aimed at publicity. Few of them are actually ready for service. Missiles have a limited lifespan and require continuous maintenance and system upgrades, with huge costs. Experts also noted that a more serious issue for the Chinese military lies in its command structure and combat experience. The Chinese military's performance in real combat remains unknown. Since 1979, the Chinese military has not fought a full-scale war. The command system of the CCP's military faces even greater challenges. In the past 2 years, the military has undergone an anti-corruption campaign, with more than 10 senior generals being purged, many of whom were close allies of CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping. Of the 7 members of the military commission, 3 have either been removed or gone missing. There have been reports within the military that soldiers are feeling paranoid and insecure. U.S. think tank analyst Jonathan Sin commented, the parade allows Xi to focus the world's attention on its massive strides in modernizing its military hardware, while overshadowing the stubborn challenges afflicting the PLA, most notably the continued purges rolling through the ranks of its most senior officers. Su Ziyun, director of the Taiwan Defense Strategy and Resources Research Institute, also noted that this year's parade was different from past years. For the first time, the event was moved from its traditional 10 a.m. start to 9 a.m. Despite the temperature in Beijing ranging from 22 to 30 degrees Celsius, this change might suggest concerns over the health of the leadership, as they could not endure being in the heat for so long. From CCTV's live broadcast, Xi Jinping appeared with a dark complexion, looking fatigued, and his speech lacked energy. Video surfaced online showing his head trembling, clearly indicating signs of illness. Even more notable was the change in the parade's commander. The position, previously held by the commander of the Central Theater Command, was instead taken by the Air Force commander of the Central Theater, Major General Han Shengyan. This change suggests a major shakeup within the CCP's military leadership, reflecting internal political instability and infighting. Analyst Z pointed out that the CCP's high-level command structure has been shattered due to recent purges, and mid-level officers are worried about the fall of their patrons and uncertain futures. Additionally, lower-ranking officers lack high-quality training and proper logistical support. In recent confrontations with Taiwanese aircraft, Chinese Air Force pilots exposed extremely low military competence and emotional control. Besides using vulgar language, their flight maneuvers and tactical responses were clearly inferior. This highlights concerns about the mindset and combat skills of China's highest-paid fighter pilots. As the ultimate commander of the military, Xi Jinping poses the greatest threat to the morale of the entire army, especially as his health and mental state is deteriorating. Mr. Z pointed out a phenomenon that speaks volumes. On the day of the September 3rd parade, the CCP's official media went into overdrive, showcasing the magnificent nature of the event and reporting on the appearance of a large number of new and advanced weapons. According to tradition, China's A-share market should typically experience a rally, especially with defense stocks seeing a sharp rise before being sold off. However, to everyone's surprise, the A-share market performed poorly on September 3rd, with the defense sector being one of the hardest hit, leading the market's decline. Financial commentators on social media have questioned the authenticity of some of the weapons displayed in the military. Some equipment are possibly just models designed to create a show of force. They believe the collective crash in military stocks after the parade might be due to the market sensing doubts about the authenticity of these weapons. These pieces of equipment may appear powerful on the surface, but in reality, they're likely to be ineffective. Shen Mingshi, a researcher at the Taiwan National Defense Security Research Institute, also expressed skepticism. He questioned whether the AJX-002 unmanned underwater vehicle that was unveiled during the parade could effectively evade both underwater and aerial detection. He told the media that these static displays cannot verify the true capabilities of the weapons, and it's possible they're just shells designed to scare others. Renowned Chinese author Li Changpeng sarcastically remarked on X that the weaponry showcased at the parade was actually supported by people's social security funds, medical insurance, pensions, taxes, fines, and mortgages. He also pointed out that the children of CCP officials tend to choose to study and live in so-called hostile countries, such as the US, Japan, Canada, Australia, and EU countries, rather than the friendly countries that attended the parade. He urged the public to view the true meaning behind the parade with rationality.